Okay, so I watched 15 minutes of this, and to be honest with you, what Blackie is saying here is pretty delusional. He doesn't entirely know what he's talking about, which isn't a surprising thing in terms of like the intelligence level of people in this generation in general. Like, you guys are, like, you gotta realize, like, you guys start off getting brainwashed. That's all your education system is. And then you're kind of thrown out into society, and it's whether or not you're an intelligent person and whether or not your situation is good enough for you to not end up in bad places. These are the main reasons why people can be so bad or so good in our society, because you could have horrible things happen to you. If you're a good person, you're not going to end up in a terrible situation because you simply, based off of what you've learned in life, you become a good person. And then you could be in a great situation and end up horrible because based off of what you think and how you are in your mind, right? Like, you're not going to be in a good situation because you're just not, you don't think good. You know what I mean? Like, the thing is, like, you could even say that about Doja Cat and like Nicki Minaj. They're both musicians. They both face similar backlash, right? And sometimes it seems like Doja Cat thinks about it really hard, and it seems like Nicki Minaj doesn't. But it's like it's or it's like it's the difference between people. Like, you got people who think a lot, and you got people who don't. You got people who do something afterwards, and you got people who don't react. But anyways, right? Like, the reality with these two people is this person, when she gets the negative backlash that comes with being a female in the entertainment industry, she probably has like a different type of team that tells her, and she listens to what the team tells her, and she just doesn't comment on it. Doja Cat, they probably tell her not to comment. She's like, yo, I'm doing this how I want to do it. Or she doesn't have a team helping her at all. And she's just out here, talking to the people, which makes sense to just talk to the people who are your fans. You know what I mean? Because that's what she does online sometimes. She just talks to them. It's not like she's calling them up or nothing. She just leaves a message. If you're a fan and you get upset about what your favorite content creator or whatever says, you don't really know that content creator. Then if you get upset, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, you gotta realize, like, behind people's personas, behind what they do to make money and stuff, sometimes they might not like you. Sometimes you might not like them. You know what I mean? Like, to me, from what I've seen about Doja Cat, this is a person who I could sit down and probably write out music. If I was gonna make a video game, right, and make Doja Cat a character, I feel like we could do something like that. But like this with Nicki Minaj, I feel like if I try to do something like that with her, it would be more strictly business. So we could probably do something like that too. Like, I wouldn't think that it is a Doja specific type of situation. But we're gonna get into this video. I was just talking about the mentality of people and influencers a little bit, because what this guy says about influencers, just it's just not true. But I'm gonna get into this a little bit.
New York the other day, this Cenat Riot. I got some things to say about it, okay? Now, Cenat is a name you might have heard. For anyone who's not familiar with the name or face, Cenat is the biggest Twitch streamer in the world right now, if I'm not mistaken. Aside from that, he's honestly one of the biggest online personalities, that have came out in the last 2 years. I want to cover the story that's going viral right now. So let me just fill you in on exactly what's going on, right? So the other day, Kai Cenat announced to his fans that he would be hosting a huge giveaway in Union Square, New York. The giveaway was going to involve Kai giving away video game consoles, PS5s, PCs, keyboards, and other items on top of that. Kai told his fans that the giveaway would happen at 4 p.m. on Friday in Union Square Park, New York. Now, unbeknownst to Kai, however, this was going to be not just a regular giveaway. It ended up turning pretty damn violent. It went from show up to this location if you want to have a chance of receiving video games to a straight up riot. Now, don't.
Okay, so the first minute of the video is good, right? I wanted to show that, like, he's making sense in this video, the Blackie dude. But then at a certain point, he just loses touch with reality, and it's like it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. I'm gonna go to the almost the exact time. Okay, yeah, this is almost the exact time. See that Spider-Man picture show up. Anyways,
Because he's a hero to the kids. Anyone who's influential to the youth going forward, because he's a hero to the kids.
hold
And I
on,
want
I
him to
gotta
learn
get
that
the
negative to say.
context of what he was
All
saying.
the
That's the
success he's
actual point.
been able to accumulate, I'm gonna salute him for that. I have nothing negative to say about Kai. I just want him
Hold
to
up, this is like
because
the
that
literal
brother's
point
doing
where
like
it
a
just
man.
went off the rails.
I'm gonna
Hold
meet
on.
Kai one day. I'm gonna look him in the face that you as the creator, that's the standard that
Oh wait, he
whether it's
was off the
directly or
rails for like
indirectly,
a good
that's
5 minutes.
damaging to others in some type of fashion. Whether so, if your supporters show up in a way that's damaging to others in some type of fashion, whether it's directly or indirectly, that's the standard that you as the creator, you set that standard.
It's like, this right here, if people who follow your content show up and they're acting crazy, like, it doesn't have that much to do with you. Like, you have to realize that there's not a single person out here creating content who's like, hey, everybody, everywhere we meet, let's mess it up. Like, no. You have to realize that this is a problem that people have dealt with since Pharaoh times. Like, how did the pyramids get built? Yeah, it was slaves, but it was also group thinking, it was group mentality. What happens when you direct people in a group? They can do things, right? People have known this for a very, very long time. Everything about groupthink has been studied, not literally studied, but experimented with for thousands and thousands of years. You can even see in ants, where if ants are doing something, thousands of ants, and you introduce a certain chemical, if you kill off a few of the ants, flick a few ants away, if you do certain things, these ants can then get stuck in a cycle where they're all walking in a circle until all the ants are no longer alive. And you can do this exact same thing with almost every single type of animal if they're in a group. The actual least intelligent creatures just fight when it happens. But that's not like a shot at people or nothing like that. But you come and you're talking about this as if people have control. Like, you got to realize the reality at some point that it's just people getting in a group. It's people just doing things. It's not people have influence and all this stuff. But you got to realize that what people did in this situation was just people showing up. And then because this was in a big open area, people might have seen and they're like, hey, there's nothing blocking us off. All right, let's look. Let's see what's going on. Right, like this isn't a situation where you could say everyone was followers of Kai. Like, we don't know this. We don't know these little things. And now at this point, to not face any jail time or repercussions, everyone's gonna say, "Oh yeah, we were just there for the Kai thing." So you can't even question everybody who was there because some people might lie and be like, "Oh yeah, I was there. I was there." All you gotta do is be from New York at this point, and you were there because it happened in New York. But anyways,
standard. Directly or indirectly, you set that standard. Now, is that me saying anything negative about Kai? Absolutely
like, hold up. Even with the way he's moving, you can tell he doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, people don't move like this when they're telling you something that they're actually thinking about. Look at his head movements.
that standard. Now, is that me saying
If you see somebody moving like this at a party, you need to run.
directly or indirectly, you set that standard. Now, is that me saying
You see how he's got his eyes open, staring so hard. Like he's searching for the thoughts as we speak. But anyways, let's get back to what he was saying because he did go off the rails a little bit in terms of his explanation.
anything negative about Kai? Absolutely not. I'm going to meet Kai one day. I'm going to look him in the face. I'm going to shake his hand like a man. And I'm going to salute him for all the great work he's putting in because that brother is doing some amazing things. He's a young black man. We're in the same space. And one day, right, we're going to be in the same room. And I'm going to salute him for everything he's done. All the success he's been able to accumulate. I'm going to salute him for that.
Like I don't think Blackie understands how bad a move it is to say that this is a reflection of Kai and then say you want to meet him in the same sentence. Like that's not I mean not the same sentence, but the same minute. Like you gotta realize that you don't know any of these people. Right? We don't know Hannah Montana, we don't know Miley Cyrus, we don't know Boy Meets World, we don't know Shia LaBeouf. Right? Like, we don't know these people. Who would have expected people like Shia LaBeouf to be beating women 15 years later? Thing about Shia is that he's actually one of them people who just manipulate people, manipulate. Because of the situations that he was in when he was growing up and all this stuff, he didn't get to develop his brain in a way where you're not like that, where you're not just seeking things, because that's what people are at the core. We're all just seeking stuff. And then when you add fame and fortune to it and then acting on top of it, well, now any kid would grow up thinking, oh, you know, if I just act the part, people would believe it. Like a lot of the things, like the thing, that meme that was going around, just do it. Like all he did was do a little research. And he was like, yo, what would be something that would get people to really. And he went up with the just do it. Like it's all this stuff where people, you know what I mean? Like you can't know people. So to think like you're gonna meet Kai one day, like this is not a good frame of thought. It's like come up with something, make something that could get you to meet him. Don't say that you're gonna meet him one day. All this stuff about manifesting is not real. Life's about your actions. Are you gonna do something that could make you end up meeting him? Because just doing YouTube is not how you meet famous people. The thing is, there's always paperwork and all these things that people don't talk about. Whenever people meet influencers, money. Like even Kai met Ice Spice. Try and ask them how they met. He probably paid her to come. Kai also met people like Tiana Trump and stuff. Like he probably paid them to come. He probably just did a booking. Right? So you're gonna book Kai? It's like the idea that you're just gonna be in the same room together one day, like it's bad to even like when you talk about influence, it's bad to even say that to thousands of people because now you're gonna have some people who just gonna go around thinking, oh, you know what, if I just do this, why just do that? Nah. The only reason you do YouTube is because you had the money to have internet and you have the setup. Like even my video here is probably gonna have laggy and bad quality. Right? Like you have to have the right tools and shit. You know what I mean? You have to be in the right position to do certain things. It goes back to what I was talking about originally in this video. When I was talking about the Doja and the Nicki Minaj. Like you gotta be right mentally, and then you gotta have the team. You gotta have the backup. You know what I mean?
Nothing negative to say about Kai. I just want him to come out, out of this intact, and I want him to learn a lesson going forward because he's a hero to the kids.
There's no lessons you can learn. I'm pretty sure he learned his lesson when they started pushing the vehicle. Right? Like I'm pretty sure he learned his lesson when they started pushing that vehicle. Not to do this. Like, no. We can't just. But the thing is, you got to realize he might be thinking that those are his fans as well. That's just people at this point. You know what I mean? Just the people who were in the vicinity. That's just the people who showed up. To sit down and act like that's all his fans completely. If all of them unsubscribe, then you could be like, oh yeah, this is this might have been the fans. This might have been my fans. But the thing is that this is just a situation that happened. People grouped up. The flow of the city actually got backed up. So to think, like, you got to realize that when you're in a city, it's like running water. It's like electrical circuits. If you are to put something to block an electrical circuit, it could pop. It could have electricity, static build up, catch on fire, etc. If you are to block up the flow of water, you're going to see it start to overflow a little bit. Like, this is not a situation that is like a reflection of me, a reflection on you, blah, 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 blah. It's not that type of stuff. But I'm going to show at least a minute more.
Anyone who's influential to the youth, I want them to do good with their platform because that's something that directly concerns me. With great power comes great responsibility. I say that as I'm looking like Miles Morales himself. And I want Kai to actually learn from this because Kai holds a lot of influence. Anyone with influence, especially someone who looks like me and especially someone who's in the same type of space as me, same lane, I want them to do good with their platform because that's what I strive to do every single day. And it's not about being perfect because we're all going to mess up, but this.
I don't think he realized that if we were going to make a court case, we could like break this down and use all of this video against Kai. Really, like we really could. Saying that you have a lot of influence, blah, 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 all this stuff. People don't have very much influence over people. There was something that I learned in high school that I used to love history class. It turned me against history classes altogether because it's so stupid. First of all, I'm going to say this, right? As time goes on, history does not repeat itself. We are the exact same creature that created the pyramids. There are problems and stuff that we have now that they had then. The reason that we don't solve these problems is because no one's thinking about the problem. Y'all got all these people with degrees, all these things, and no one's actually thinking about the problem. Y'all are spending all this time in school learning stuff. The reason why there's less chaos is because there's so many people in school. They're not out in the streets doing nothing. Right? Like, this is what happens when you have people who don't have much aim and direction in their life, where they're not at the point in their life where they have aim and direction, and then you have them out. Like, this isn't just right. Like, you got to realize, like, we are dealing with a lot of different things, like recession, all these different things. Hey, I got about 500 PlayStations. I got somebody you think no one was coming there to rob you. Like this, like this is not a situation where you can really blame Kai. Personally, I would say to have mercy on this dude because you got to realize, like, he might be famous, he might be rich, all this stuff, but he's never had a concert before. He's never done a lot of these different things that famous people, rich people do with groups of people. He doesn't know what he's doing with with this group of people. He clearly doesn't. The stuff that he was saying in the video was the stuff that Kai was saying in his video was insane. coming from a standpoint of knowing some of the reality behind organizing things. Like you don't know what people are going to do when they show up. I used to go to things like Stone Mountain and stuff when I was little with my mom and my other family members because they would take me, and like there would be groups of people outside of these events, and I would always wonder why. And this is why, because there's people who show up and they want to rob the place, they want to do this, they want to do that. Sometimes they're homeless, etc. There's all this stuff that goes on. Like this is why when you go to these types of events, it's for miles they clear off the street because people already know people will show up. They don't got no business being there. They just want to make this something about them. But anyways.
should tell you how much influence you have, Kai. They said that they arrested 65 people, nearly, half of them being juveniles. For all those juveniles who got picked up for better or worse, Kai
Like you don't know who these juveniles are. Like you don't know if they're fans. You don't know if they're random people. Like I've seen people show up to things and they don't even have money in their pockets. They're just there. You know what I mean? Like people just show up places. Like you don't know who those people were. All you know is they're young. You can't say, oh, therefore then they are fans of Kai because they're young. Like the idea that everyone is a fan of Kai is young. Like, bro, like, have you seen any of Kai's content? Like, some of his content is stuff that only adults could be interested in. That's how I'm gonna say that. But anyways,
is their hero, and they got arrested while showing up for him. How they decide to behave is not Kai's responsibility directly, but this does reflect on him as a content creator. That's kind of undeniable, right? And here's the thing, young people need to get good at checking each other internally.
one thing that you're never gonna get from young people is checking each other, unless you want to be checking each other out. Right? Like people don't know enough when you're young, especially in our society where the society doesn't give a fuck about the youth. Like people pretend like charities and education and all this stuff is caring, but it's really not. If people really cared about the youth, there's certain things that people would not do. Right? Like you're just left at school and you don't do things because you want to. That's setting people up to not have direction in life. You're just at school with a bunch of people you don't know. You're not doing the things because you want to. You're doing things because there's some obligation 18 years from now that you're supposed to fulfill. That's setting people up to be delusional and stupid. Oh yeah, and the thing I forgot to say it, but the thing that happened to me in school where I just kind of gave up on history class, right? I was with this one teacher, Coach Wiltz. I remember this dude's name. This guy was so stupid to me. But anyways, we were doing an assignment and he was talking about the assignment, right? And it was about this historical event back when the Aztecs and the Mayans and stuff happened. They had gold, a lot of gold. They had a lot of money. And back in the Aztec stuff, people used to play sports and stuff for each other's lives. If you lost, your team lost life. So to couple that into how their society functioned back in the Aztecs and Mayan times, there was some people who they wanted money. They wanted a lot of money and they convinced people to give them money. And then on top of that, they would take extra money. And you got to realize there's no internet, there's no all these different things, no health care, all these different things. And they're just giving you money. And then it turns out you're just taking all the money. You know what happened? Eventually, they overthrew these people and just started killing them. And the teacher was trying to say that this is the wrong thing to do. Maybe in the context of now, this is the wrong thing to do, but back then, that was the right thing to do. You have to realize, like, back then, people are dying on a regular basis. There's people trying to have families, trying to have kids. And because there's no doctors and stuff, your kids come out and they just, boom, they're dead because they had some sickness. There wasn't flu shots and stuff back then. There wasn't all these precautions to make sure that you could live to be 20. So when you're taking money from people back then and you're taking food and resources back then, it's not a good thing. This is like killing people. So of course people are going to end your life for taking a lot of money and stuff from them. But it's wild that the education system is set up to tell people like, oh, this is a wrong thing. This is a bad thing. The way people did stuff back then, that was wrong. And that made me just really give up on history class altogether. Because y'all are deluded into thinking that comparing stuff from more than 1,000 years ago to stuff that goes on now makes any goddamn sense if you're not comparing it to understand why people do things. Because it's very simple to understand why people would do things. I just broke down why they would overthrow a leader way back then. Much better, more quick than a few chapters in a fucking textbook would break it down to you. But it's like, it's stuff like that. It does actually correlate to this riot stuff. Because you gotta realize people don't have much influence. People say they're going to do a thing. So then people say, okay, well, we'll do a thing. And then it turns out, well, here's what we really doing. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same thing with this riot. They're like, hey, we're showing up for this. And then there's a bunch of other people who are like, nah, this is what we're doing. Right? Like, there's stuff like Kai didn't have microphones. There's all this stuff. He thought that he could just talk to the crowd. Like, what the fuck? That's delusional. But anyways.
Now, what do I mean when I say that? Well, like if your homie is exhibiting some kind of whack behavior, it's up to you. It's up to you, right? To call that out. Like, yo, we don't do that over here. We don't do that over here, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that shit. We don't do that. It's up to you to do that. You gotta set the standard. Because a lot of these kids.
Okay, so I can't watch this over and over again. I gotta skip more stuff he was saying.
He's not your
because the thing is, in a person-to-person instance, what he's saying, there's nothing wrong with that. But in a crowd of people, if we're in a crowd of people, and there's 5 dudes following a girl, you can't just be like, "Hey, stop doing that." Hey, stop doing that. Nah, it's not gonna work like that. It would have to be a group of people who say, hey, what y'all doing? What y'all doing? Following her. Right? It's like you have to match the momentum. Because if it's just you and a group of people, the bigger group of people is just going to come up and hit you or start doing whatever they're doing more intently. Because they're trying to do what they're doing. You know what I mean? It's not comparable. Even what I'm just saying with a small group of people, that's not comparable to an entire riot. But anyways.
Bro. Distance yourself from him. Distance yourself from him. That's a no good person. That's not a good person, I should say. That's not someone who you want to surround yourself with. Because the people you surround yourself with, you become. I mean, human beings were like sponges. And if you're around a certain type of energy for long enough, just like how a frog doesn't realize that it's in in a pot of boiling water until it's too late, you often don't realize that
Oh yeah, and analogies like this, I stopped believing in these as well because people are delusional. What the fuck does a boiling frog have to do with a group of people getting together and then it turns into a riot? Like, this is a terrible metaphor. That's why this is the first time I heard of this dumbass metaphor. The boiling frog story is often used as a metaphor for the inability of people to react to significant changes that occur gradually or to events which have become commonplace. Aren't frogs cold-blooded animals? You know what happens when you put a cold-blooded animal into cold water? They freeze up. They stop moving. So when you put a cold-blooded animal into warm water, they're going to just get comfortable, or their insides are going to get too hot for them to do stuff, and they're going to start getting into the point where they're going to just faint. They're going to start relaxing, over relaxing. So comparing this boiling frog to this situation that they're talking about in this paragraph is actually pretty stupid. Whoever made this analogy up is a moron. A better description would be the bottom metaphor that I'm about to make up right now. If you're looking at the bottom of something, turning it over and looking at the bottom, you're still going to be looking at the bottom, even if the bottom was the top. Because being at the bottom just means you're under something, or there's nowhere to go down from where you are. So you're always down when you're at the bottom. You can't explain to someone who's at the bottom that they're not at the bottom if you're both at the bottom. That is a better edit metaphor than this bullshit right here. Because you got to understand frogs and all this shit. Like, this is too childish of a metaphor because it actually doesn't make any sense. This is like when people say, one bad apple ruins the bunch. You know why people don't say that one anymore? Because it's fucking dumb. One bad apple doesn't ruin the bunch. You know how apples age? You know how fruit age? They're all individual living creatures. So one of them is clearly older than the other one. Right? And then if you have something rotting and it's actually rotting, no matter what it is, it could be a rotting finger. If you were to leave a rotting finger on your hand, go to sleep, you would wake up with some of that rot on you. So one bad apple ruins the bunch just doesn't actually explain anything because people are dumb, then people are smart. One dumb person doesn't make everybody dumb. One smart person doesn't make everybody smart. It matters the situation that you're in. So a lot of these metaphors and shit are just stupid as fuck.
that you're in bad company until that bad company has affected your life enough to the point where you start to see real life negative consequences. See, young people and especially teenagers need to be warned about the perils of enabling bad behavior. Because once you let bad behavior slide within your circle of friends, it now becomes the burden of society. And now we're gonna have to deal with that. And we don't want to deal with that. But ultimately, this is a parenting issue.
Right, like, the problem is that the way that Blackie thinks, right, is he's still under the view of like society, we're all meant to help each other, blah 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 blah, all this bullshit. Bro, we live in a country where not too long ago people like this were slaves, bro. Like, you realize that if any of these metaphors and shit were real, it would apply to that logic as well. Like most of this shit's just made up bullshit. And the thing is that he made this video way too long. He just started rambling at a certain point. But the thing is, most of his videos are like that. So he wouldn't change the formula unless something happened where someone was just like, "Yo, this is fucking retarded, my bro. Are you a like, right? You know what I mean?" And then a bunch of people just gave him that backlash. But because what I was originally talking about, we don't know any of these influencers. It could just make Blackie go insane. Cause like, look at his picture. Like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And then you look at this, like XX Temptation wasn't all that great of an influence to people. The thing is that he wanted to be positive. Like, this dude would just fight people all the time. Part of the reason why he ended up dead was because fucking dumbass
Now,
wouldn't
this
stop
riot
fighting
that
random
happened in New York
people. But anyways, XX doesn't have too much to do with this. So I'm not gonna talk about XX. XX was stupid. But it's just all this stuff.
I salute him for everything he's done, right? And this speaks volumes for how influential not only he is, but for how influential content creators are. Like, content creators are shifting the
Content creators aren't that influential. It's just like how many examples? I'm pretty sure he doesn't even know much about Ninja, but Ninja did this thing one time where they got Ninja, and then he was trying to get people to dance or something, and then the whole crowd was just not doing anything. Like, content creators are not influential, and the reason I bring up Ninja is because at one point Ninja had more followers than hold on, let me see how many followers Ninja got real quick. I think by now there's just a bunch of clone accounts and junk of Ninja, so this might not even work the same as I'm thinking. Yep, look at that. He has this many subscribers. And at the time, I think he had like 17 million when he did that thing. It was like maybe 6 years ago. It was a long time ago. But he was hosting some event. I'm not hosting an event. He was to show up at an event, and the people did not know he was gonna be there or some shit. So, it's like all this influence. Like, if he had influence, people would have been like, "Oh, it's Ninja." No, they were like wondering who the fuck he is. And he just went up there, and then they didn't do anything, and then just made it look bad. People memed it. It was funny. But people don't understand situations, and this is actually, oh my god, I realized that I froze this at a point that looks wild. Hold on, let me make his face look
culture.
not as fucked
Like,
up.
I know I'm shifting the culture in my way. I'm not comparing myself to anybody, right? I know that. Just through my message, through me expressing what I'm thinking right now,
That's not true.
this is shifting the world in some type of way. It's having a positive impact on the world. I know that. That's why I sleep like a baby. So content creators are so powerful. And as a content creator, you gotta hone in on your message. What are you promoting? What kind of people are supporting you? Because one day you're gonna have a situation where you tell people to pull up on you and they actually pull up on you. Now the question is, who's pulling up on you? See, I know who's gonna pull up on me, but who's gonna pull up on you as a content creator? You could have an audience of 5 to 10 people. If you tell them to show up, who are those people? Because ultimately, this content is going to reach people.
The problem is that nothing that he's saying is making any sense. Like, he might have scripted this to a degree, but he needed to really think about the stuff that he's saying, and I don't think he's old enough or has enough experience with anything in reality to understand what he's talking about. The Blackie dude is just rambling, worse than I'm rambling right now. This 9-minute video, it did a good job of breaking it down and like talking about it, and this is why wanted to talk about this because what this guy said made sense, and I was like, dang, you know what? Because I watched the Blackie video first, and I'm like, yo, the Blackie video is just rambling. He's just talking delusional. But anyways,
On Friday, we'll be doing a huge giveaway.
Well, I knew we had a video to talk about when my Citizen app went off saying there was a riot in New York City over an influencer giveaway. But little did I know, it was actually Kai Cenat that was behind it all. And it all starts on the 2nd of August, where Kai announced that he was doing a PC and PlayStation 5 giveaway in person in New York City.
Big announcement real quick. Y'all know the last time I've been to New York was January, chat. We finally return to New York tomorrow, chat. Also, not only am I going to be in New York, but goddamn near the whole A&P gonna be in New York. I called up my boy Phantom, and on Friday, we will be doing a huge giveaway. What giveaway are you gonna do? Yes, it will be a meetup. Yes, I'm gonna drop the location, and yes, we're giving away PCs. We will be giving away PS5s. We will be giving away microphones for the PC, keyboards for the PC, webcams for the PC, gaming chairs for the PC, headphones, gift cards. Now, where would that be? The way you win, you have to pull up, okay, my brothers and sisters? You have to pull up. Wait, you have to pull up. Now, I'm going to say this one time and one time only, okay, my boys and girls? Security will be deep.
okay, so here's the thing about everything that Kai said and did. Like, all of this is wrong. This is not how you organize something with thousands of people, hundreds of people even. You don't organize things by just randomly saying it and then pulling up. The thing is that Kai is famous, right? But he's not an actual famous person. He's not an actual person working in the industry. He's not an actual person doing things. Like, if you ever seen his content, he's just doing stuff like this all the time. Hey, everybody! Blah, blah, blah. And like anyone could fucking do what Kai does. Be honest with you. Like this, like the thing is that he's doing it all the time. He's always streaming. He's always doing it. So guess what? People think he's cool on the internet, so they talk with him. For all we know, Kai really only has. For all we know, Kai really only has like 10 actual followers, and everyone else is just a subscriber that's subscribed. And we just always see his content because there's always something about Kai on the internet circulating. But anyways, it's wild that he thought that he could like go there and just yell at people and, you know, they will listen to him and do things. Like, this is why you gotta realize, like, some people on the internet and some people who are famous, you're not actually in touch with reality all that much. Because even children would know that you can't just say, hey, we're gonna do this, hey, we're gonna do this, guys, and have everyone show up, because you don't know everybody. You don't know everybody. But anyways,
You try something, you get boomed.
Well, that didn't age well. From what I could see, he had like a handful of guys with him, which is absolutely useless in a crowd of 7,000 to 10,000 people. You need a whole stage with barriers and a whole team doing crowd control for that many people. But to finish out the announcement, he shows exactly where it is on Google Maps.
Here's the location. So clear your schedules for Friday. Oh, chat, we will be at 14 Union Street Park. Union Square Park, chat. Right in front of the whole school. We're going to pull up with a big truck. Y'all going to get a P5 or whatever y'all got to get. A unit. That's said unit. Hold on. Let me type it in for y'all so it's easier. Hold on. Basically, right here, okay? Right here. We will be giving away PC.
like, the sad thing about this situation is they're gonna say that people are gonna be like, oh, you know, his energy, and they matched his energy and all this bullshit. But the reality is, when you're hosting events, you can't have people looking happy and excited with a bunch of random people watching, because they're gonna want to join in. So the reality is, like, look, the place is crowded even before, like, this is just a picture. The place is crowded even before you have an event. So of course people are just going to show up and just be there. Right? Like it's stupid to look at this as if it's his influence and this and that and da 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 da. It's just like at this point I'm just repeating myself, but it's just dumb to really think that it's all about Kai's influence and about like it can't be. The place is crowded before. Like this is more than 100 people. This is more than 1,000 people here already, and it's like that all the time. So if you host something, of course it's gonna be thousands of people. Of course, but it's just you know what I mean. Like whenever events, concerts, etc. go on, it's blocked off for at least like 2-3 miles sometimes because people just show up. You can't get everybody there who has a ticket. Sometimes people sneak in.
and all that. We deep right here. Hold on. Nah, I can't do the red steps. Chat, I can't do the web steps due to the fact that that will get shut down ASAP. I am not trying to be Duke Dennis 2.0.
Well, again, that didn't age well.
The massive crowd in New York City's Union Square formed in minutes. Thousands of young people who showed up for a PlayStation giveaway.
That opening clip there looked like something straight out of a zombie movie. But what a lot of people...
Hold on, I needed to say this real quick. There's been times where like I'm at home and then my sister or my brothers or my mom, they'll say that something's going on and then we just go. Like the idea that everyone was there because they watched the video or everyone was there because of social media, or like people are going to use this situation, this instance, to try and put more restrictions on social media, more of this, more of that. But the reality is that not enough of y'all know reality. So it just comes down to this situation where you need to schedule events if you're having them. You need to schedule, right? Like you can't just say. And the thing is, like, there is no lesson to be learned from this. We already know this information. Kai is just dumb. So the Kai is just dumb. Like when he talked to people like Tiana Trump, when he talked to Ice Spice, all these different people, like he's doing bookings. He's booking people. The dude talked about the blackie dude talked about whatchamacallit. The blackie dude talked about being there, meeting Kai one day. Like book him. That's how you meet Kai. All this manifesting and all this bullshit, like that's not real. That's not reality. But yeah, that's the end of the video. I just wanted to talk about the reality of this situation, because the reality is that like we've studied this interaction. Human beings have studied this interaction. We know what goes on when there's a crowd of people. So the fact that they're going to try to put him in jail and stuff over this is kind of wild, right? Because you can tell that Kai doesn't have any degree, any fucking, understanding of certain stuff. So of course it's not going to go well. Anyone could have predicted just from this part of the video that this shit wouldn't have gone well. If anyone had seen this and anyone worked with Kai, they should have said, wait, don't do this. But guess what? People on his team, people who work with Kai, probably don't know what the fuck they're doing either. Kai is just somebody who blew up on the internet one day. And just like I barely watch any Kai videos, I'm not even subscribed. You can look at my fucking subscriber thing, right? Like I look at fucking Japanese fucking people with big titties. Like I don't I don't watch Kai. right? I be watching Mr. Beast, Gideon. I don't watch Kai, bro. Right? I be watching React videos. I be watching things about coding. I be watching people just talk about people. Right? Like the idea that Kai is like the influence and all this stuff. Like it's delusional. Like this is Kai, bro.
Hey, Jarvis, open matters.
This is Kai just doing random stuff for views. Like the idea that he would have known better is wild. To hold him to a higher standard, like what has he shown that he knows what he's doing? Like man, people in general are just so dumb, man. Anyways,